It was a dark, moonless night when Lily and Jake set up camp deep in the jungle. They had been hiking all day and were excited to spend the night under the stars. The fire crackled as the sounds of the jungle whispered around them. Suddenly, a howl echoed through the trees, sending a chill down their spines. Jake laughed nervously. Probably just a wolf, right? But Lily wasn't so sure. The howl felt different, more sinister. As the night grew colder, strange sounds echoed from the jungle. Suddenly, they heard heavy footsteps approaching. Jake stood up, his heart racing. Who's there? The bushes rustled, and then a horrifying growl filled the air. Before Jake could react, the werewolf burst out of the shadows, its eyes glowing red. Lily screamed, but Jake tried to fight it off. The werewolf swiped its claws, knocking Jake to the ground. With a terrifying snarl, the creature sank its teeth into Jake's neck. Lily froze in horror, too scared to move. The werewolf stood over Jake's lifeless body, blood dripping from its jaws. It slowly turned toward Lily, its eyes burning with hunger. Lily ran, her heart pounding in her chest, pushing through the thick jungle. She stumbled over rocks, but the werewolf was close behind, growling. Lily found a small cave and hid inside, her breath coming in quick gasps. For hours, she stayed there, listening to the werewolf growling just outside. She knew she couldn't stay there forever. She had to find a way to fight back. The next day, Lily discovered an old rifle hidden under some leaves. She realized it was a hunter's rifle, left behind long ago. She carefully loaded the rifle with silver bullets, her hands trembling. That night, she waited quietly, the jungle deathly silent around her. The werewolf's howl echoed once more, closer this time. Lily aimed the rifle, her heart pounding. She could hear its heavy steps. As the werewolf lunged at her, Lily pulled the trigger. The silver bullet hit the werewolf's chest, and it howled in pain. With a final roar, the werewolf collapsed, its body crumbling into the dirt. Lily stood over it, trembling, her eyes wide with shock. She had survived, but the jungle was forever changed. And though the creature was dead, Lily knew the jungle would always remember. It was a cold and quiet night, and Anna was alone in her room reading a book. The wind howled outside, making the trees sway and creak like whispers. Suddenly, Anna heard a soft tap at the window, as if someone was knocking. She froze, her heart racing. No one was supposed to be outside. The tapping came again, louder this time, and then silence. Anna slowly stood up and walked to the window, her feet cold on the wooden floor. When she peeked outside, there was nothing. No one, just darkness. But then, she saw something in the corner of the yard. A shadow moving, very slowly. Her breath caught in her throat. The shadow didn't move like a person. It slithered. Terrified, Anna stepped back from the window, her legs shaking. She turned to leave the room, but then she heard something else. A whisper.
I am coming for you.
Anna's body stiffened. The voice sounded so close, but no one was there. Slowly, she turned back toward her room. The door creaked open by itself. The room felt colder now, colder than it ever had before. Anna stepped inside, but there was something wrong. The book she had been reading was gone. She spun around in panic, but before she could run, the window slammed shut on its own. Her eyes searched the room, but all she could see were shadows moving at the corners. Suddenly, Anna heard the whisper again, but this time it was right behind her. With one final scream, Anna ran from the room, but the door wouldn't open. She looked at the walls around her. The shadows were moving, closing in. Then she saw it, the shadow in the corner, now standing upright. It wasn't just a shadow, it was a person. The figure reached out with long, bony fingers, and Anna felt her legs turn to stone. With a loud crash, the window shattered, and the shadow vanished. The room was still again. The air was heavy with silence, and Anna was alone once more. But when she looked down, there was something on the floor. A single page of her book. On the page it said, "I'll be back, soon." And just as Anna thought she could breathe again, she heard it. A soft tap at the window. It was starting all over again. In a tiny village, nestled deep in the woods, the nights were filled with an eerie silence. The children loved to play near the old well, but they never stayed out after dark. One evening, a shadowy figure watched them from the trees, its eyes glowing red. A bat flew over the village, its shadow passing like a dark cloud. In the village library, an old book told of a vampire named Dracula who cursed the land. Lily, a brave girl, read the book and learned of the Crimson Curse. The book had a map, and Lily knew she had to find the source of the curse. She packed a bag with a silver cross and holy water just in case. As she entered the forest, the trees seemed to whisper her name. In the shadows, two red eyes watched her every move. Dracula appeared, tall and pale, his cape flowing like smoke around him. Lily held up the silver cross, and Dracula hissed, stepping back. But then he laughed, a deep, chilling sound that made Lily's heart race. Lily turned and ran, branches scratching her arms as she went. Dracula flew above the trees, his eyes locked on her. Lily tripped and fell, and Dracula landed nearby, his fangs glinting. She threw the holy water at him, and steam rose from his skin as he screamed. Dracula vanished into a cloud of bats, leaving Lily alone in the forest. In the dirt, Lily found a strange, glowing red stone. The stone pulsed with a dark, eerie light, and Lily knew it was the source of the curse. She smashed the stone with a rock, and the light faded away. The forest grew silent, and the red eyes disappeared. Lily walked back to the village, the moon turning white once more. The villagers cheered as Lily returned, their hero. That night, Lily sat by the fire, telling her story to the wide-eyed villagers. But as she spoke, the old book lay on the table, the page about Dracula mysteriously torn out. Outside the window, a shadow moved, and two red eyes glowed in the dark. Lily looked out the window, but there was nothing there. The villagers slept peacefully, unaware of the danger that still lurked. Lily kept the silver cross close, always ready for Dracula's return. 5 friends, Mark, Lisa, Jason, Emily, and Kevin, lived in Springwood, unaware of the horror that awaited them. After a party one night, they all started having the same nightmare, a burned man with a bladed glove stalking them in their dreams. Mark was the first to fall. In his dream, he found himself in an abandoned school, the walls dripping with blood. Suddenly, Freddy emerged, dragging his claws across the chalkboard, creating an ear-piercing screech. Mark ran, but the hallway stretched endlessly. Freddy caught him, lifting him by the throat. With a flick of his claws, he gutted Mark, watching as he collapsed, lifeless. Lisa dozed off while watching TV, only to awaken in a burning hospital. The beds were covered in blood, and screams echoed down the halls. Suddenly, Freddy appeared in a nurse's uniform, laughing maniacally. Lisa screamed and ran, but he cornered her, slicing her Achilles tendons. As she crawled, whimpering, Freddy stomped on her back, driving his blades into her skull. Jason tried to stay awake, but exhaustion claimed him. He awoke in a factory, the walls covered in chains and hooks. Freddy's laughter echoed as the chains began to move, wrapping around Jason's limbs. He struggled, but Freddy yanked a lever, and the chains pulled Jason apart, his screams cut short as his body was torn into pieces. Emily dreamed of being at a peaceful lake until the water turned black. Hands pulled her under, and Freddy appeared in the water, dragging her down. No matter how she fought, he kept pulling her deeper, whispering, "You can't wake up from this." Her lungs filled with water as Freddy twisted her neck, leaving her floating lifelessly. Kevin knew he was next. Instead of running, he faced Freddy. In his dream, he armed himself with weapons, transforming the nightmare into his battleground. As Freddy lunged, Kevin dodged and grabbed a steel pipe, smashing it across Freddy's face. Furious, Freddy clawed at Kevin's chest, but Kevin seized Freddy's own glove and drove it into his skull, twisting the blades violently. Freddy screeched in agony as Kevin burned him alive in his own nightmare realm. Kevin woke up, drenched in sweat. His friends were gone, their bodies found lifeless in their beds. But Freddy was dead, at least for now. As Kevin looked in the mirror, He saw a deep scratch across his chest. Freddy's sinister laughter echoed in his mind.